Okay. Goodness gracious, man. That was awesome. I you know, sometimes I sometimes I like to get sometimes I just have to take a little bit of a break. There's something going on in the world. And we can't get the live stream like going like right at 9 a.m. Today was one of those days. Config Europe was going on, and not sure if we'll have anybody joining us from that particular corner of the world. But if you are tuning in, this is New Pragmatic's feedback loop, and I absolutely was blown away. I believe he pronounces his name Holly. He is a Norwegian designer who is you've probably seen him around over on Twitter. Um, big big accessibility guru in the space, and he gave the closing keynote over there at Fig or Config. I keep wanting to say Fig Con, but that's not really it. It's Config. That's a much better name, and just really blown away about the story, putting a positive spin actually on what we can do with technology and design. Um, it's kind of shocking sometimes to think that it's not really shocking. Everything in the world is politicized, so the idea that we never stop to think about the magical attributes of technology and design isn't it isn't hard to see why we ignore what's right in front of us so often. But I always talk about things like this right here. YouTube, I'm YouTube live streaming right now. This is like a time machine, and the way my students utilize this is I review their work every day in a live stream, and they get to watch it whenever they have time to come back to the work, which means that there's this constant ability for them to go about their day and yet go back to something that I said today or go back to something I said 2 weeks ago, and teleport back into a classroom dynamic, teleport back into a particular bit of feedback. And that's something that really, I remember when I was in school, like if I got feedback from an instructor, at most it was written. It was more likely something that was kind of said, and then I'm trying to grasp at straws, trying to remember what was said versus what we do now. And what we do now is radically different. So I'm super excited to have had an opportunity to spend this morning. Most of the sessions and I'm not sure what you might have attended. Most of the sessions I attended were more design system oriented. Um, um, Holly's last session kind of talked about more of a what is the passion, what is the drive behind what you do, and for him, in many ways, it was therapy because he had not dealt with the death of a loved one, and it kind of he kind of directed that into his work. But then when he slowed down and he tried to address it, it was technology that helped him work through, and it was a cathartic exercise, using platforms that we often think about uh, quite negatively, like Facebook. I mean, um, how many stories about Southeast Asian genocide do you need to hear before you develop a bad attitude about Facebook? But yet there were things he found that gave him insight into his long lost mother that he never had prior to that. So I think that it's really interesting to remember that there are positive sides to it, and I'm among the worst. I'm an offender. I oftentimes focus on the bad, and I have to own that. But it's a powerful reminder that there's good that comes of these things. And again, one of the ways that I have mentally survive the pandemic, living over on YouTube, watching live shows that I would have never seen otherwise, because I would probably be out at a live show instead of watching that live show recorded. So anyway, happy to have you along. If this is your first time joining us, feel free to click that subscribe button. If you want to participate and take part, if you go over to newpragmatic.com, there's a link to the community to sign up for the Discord community for New Pragmatic. That is typically where I am watching the chat, because I'm broadcasting here. I don't actually have YouTube open. But I have a number of students that have turned in work this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and take a second to load their work up. We've got Katie in here, and Katie's work is already loaded. I know that Maddie is back. And when I say Maddie is back, I have to preface that. Maddie's been gone for 6 years. Former student, actually not 6 years, 5 years. She started 6 years ago, left 5 years ago, started her career, and now she's back to make that next level up. And I want to get her work pulled up here as well while we are just getting things underway. So Maddie's work is up. Oh, Abby has also submitted some work, and she's actually getting started today in the UI portion of the course. So I'm going to pull up her work as well. Although one of the pieces for her is very focused on writing. So it's something I'm gonna have to go back and like I'll give her some written feedback. Nothing that we necessarily need to okay. All right. Okay. So sorry, I got to change accounts here again. And all right, I think I'm pretty much ready to go here. Guidance from loop. All right. So with all of that said, let's get this underway. If I can now just organize my screens so I can find the things. Okay. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It's time for the feedback loop, delayed edition. We were spending most of the morning at the Config Europe conference, chatting with people, watching a lot of great presentations, and now it's time to jump in and review some work. So I've got work here this morning from let's see, Katie, Abby, and Maddie. Maddie's new to New Pragmatic, but an old student of mine from about 6 years ago. So I'm super excited to have her back in the fold. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will get this underway. So the first place I'm going to start off with actually is Maddie's. Maddie has Marta. She goes by name Marta. Maddie's nickname. Maddie has a. And there we go. I'm like, why is my doc still showing? Maddie has put together a PDF presentation that she is using basically as her portfolio right now. Now, we've discussed how we should be moving forward, but there's a couple of things that are interesting about presentations. One, I think when you go in to interview for a job, you have to have one. You absolutely have to have one. It's not. You should never go into a job with just your website. Okay. Now the website is really great because if somebody discovers you online, they on your LinkedIn, they click through to your portfolio. If they're on their phone, which a lot of people are, they can't pull up your PDF on their phone and actually read it. You're gonna get skipped over. But if you pull up your website in an interview and you're just sitting there scrolling, it does not make for a great experience. So that's where the keynote or the some sort of presentation comes into play. I do prefer presentations to be just easy to share, something that lives in the cloud. That's where platforms like, frankly, you could do this in Figma. A lot of people like to use Google Slides for this. I think when you trap yourself into a traditional keynote presentation, you get yourself in a situation where, oh, do they have a copy of it, and somebody's got to download it and all that. Additionally, the other side of it is there are a number of JavaScript frameworks that just allow you to build presentations in the web, or on the web. So there's that as well. I've done a few of those over the years. I like them. My big goal for you, though, is that if you're going in for an interview, you have some sort of presentation available. So we're going to just work through Maddie's work here. So there's a couple of different things that I would mention right away. And it is that if you're doing a presentation that's going to be on screen, like we've already got too much text, okay? Photo, fine. Hello, fine. I want to simplify this paragraph down. Maybe it's 3 lines tops, just because it's going to be standing behind you. And when I talk about presentations, they are a mix of print, static design, motion, and theater. When you aren't there, a third of the presentation's gone, okay? Because you are there, you are the glue holding it together. When you are passing it off as, let's play the agency card, all right? When I am leaving something behind and it's for an agency, I don't want to leave them behind a presentation where it's got a ton of transitions, okay? So I could totally see where this is the leave behind, okay? So you've got this thing printed out and you hand it to them. If, in fact, you want to leave a document behind, you could have it like this. But I would want to simplify this down. If maybe you want to have all this text, then it should be 3 screens, and these things should cycle out over the screens. But you wouldn't want to give them 3 screens of the same thing in a leave behind. Okay, so there. I'm already saying that just based on this, I'm looking at 2 presentations. One which would be online and available for you to utilize for a true presentation. The other one would be like a leave behind. All right. Let's go ahead and move on here. Select it works. It's fine. Burt's Bees and Gerber. This is fine as well. I think we're getting just a general sense of, here's a couple of different projects that you've worked on. It looks like there's both a online or website and app component, or desktop and mobile component. So I think you're telegraphing what you did here pretty well. E-commerce design system. This is about the density of content that I'm looking for. Also like that you go from baby to old guy. From the Gerber baby to the old Burt's Bee person. There's just some sort of nice visual arc to that, literally. So you have project goal, project role, team and timeline. This work represents one piece of the e-commerce improvement. So this is another situation where I would probably break it into a few different pages if I was actually presenting this. I would say, project goal, I might even say project goal, project role on one version, team and timeline, and then the note on another version, just to give this the space that's going to be necessary to have it really work well. Again, here is the sorry about that. Here is the, you've got the problem statement here. So you're really walking them through the this from a top-down approach. Here's the problem. I'm guessing the solution's going to follow right up after this. what's interesting to me is what happens after that. Regarding the problem, again, when you are presenting in front of a group that we've got to simplify this down. I would say one paragraph instead of two in those instances. Let's go ahead and look at the next piece. Okay, so we did not go to solution, and that's good, I think. Project goals. You've got some space here to work with. I would encourage you to look at, maybe it's working vertically, 1, 2, 3, 4. I also encourage you to consider, if I'm presenting this to people, I would consider like putting this together so that each additional piece of information appears in sequential order, not all at once, because right now, it's a lot to take in, and you feel like the slide's going to move away very quickly. But I would give them one thing to focus on at a time. Okay. Fix these peach bubbles, post-purchase monitoring. Okay, so the peach bubbles are hard to read. There's absolutely no question about that. So I'm guessing that's what you likely mean by peach bubbles. But I would not necessarily want you to have to redesign this whole document. Additionally, it's kind of interesting. You're staying within the grid, which I totally respect. But it's not like I can read these. So I'm wondering if, in looking at this, I'm wondering, and this is like a journey map. So I'm wondering if, like, this fine brand, the lines, fine cost effective baby food consideration. No, these 6 on top don't align directly to, so maybe these are just kind of things that are being lifted out. I'm not completely sure I'm supposed to be consuming, and I guess that's the question I've got for Maddie here is, am I supposed, if this is a leave behind, yes, I can try to consume all this, but if this is something that is going to be presented, I still think there's too much here for me to really focus on. So I need to walk the user into this experience, and again, I'll probably want to make this multiple slides and go up in size on this type, so that it is appearing and going on the screen and coming off in a manner that makes in a sequential order, because right now there's just too much here. So shop, subscription box, learning center, about Gerber, one-on-one guidance, WIC. I'm guessing that this is like the sitemap. So I know you're saying make this prettier, but it would help to have an idea of, okay, so yeah, so this is basically the sitemap. Okay, so now we're getting into some spaces where we've got a big overview, but I can't really see what's happening here. So I would like the big overview, but then I would like to kind of zoom in on areas that are important. And most importantly here, and I'm just kind of coming down, I really want to, I don't mind if you start out big, but I want to go in and be able to focus it. Like take me to two key things. Like, is this like A/B testing that you've done? Is this observations from user testing? Like, what are the notes that are here that I can't really see? And obviously not everything here is important. So my next question is, do I need to see this view at all, or should we be diving into the one or two observations that make the most sense? And then we're kind of getting into Burt's Bees. The same thing. I would focus in on two pieces, not 4 at a time. Yeah, that's an accurate depiction. Very minor, like not find products or product categories. Like I just knocked that into where product categories reads on its own line. This is, again, is something that I would really focus on. 1, 2, 3 sequence. And that's, of course, again, if I'm presenting this to somebody, not if I'm handing it over to them. If I'm handing it over to them, I'm wondering if I can really make a lot of sense of this chart, because I know that you're showing the pathways and like where people, like, okay, you start here and you went to the, second or third page, but I'm not sure it's really reading well right now. It might be a situation where you want to go big, like consider going edge to edge with this, and then coming back to this view and going 1, 2, 3. So give me an overview. That's where I can see it a little bit better, because that would increase the size by 25%, and then come back to this view, but then in the 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it at for right now, because we have a number of things. Yeah, need a before after. That's right. The other big thing that I think you need, and I would encourage you to think about this. If you were presenting this, and after 2 minutes something happened, let's just say a key stakeholder, somebody that was looking at hiring you, had an emergency that popped up and they had to leave. Would they get the real, would they get a sense of what you bring to the table by looking at these slides? Like, say we get down to project goals. Oh, hey, something's come up. I've got to go. The rest of the team will fill me in later. Thanks for coming in. Right? I think you've got to front load this with, not necessarily more about Gerber and Burt's Bees, but here's what I learned. Here's what before I go into the projects, I want to talk about the things that these projects taught me. Okay? Because that's the ultimate takeaway. You hear it all the time from every design professional that has a Twitter account. You hear about, show me what you've learned. Don't just show me like a process doc, or don't just show me pretty pictures. Like, display to me what you learned along the way. Okay? So I think that's the switch. That's something that if you look at Eve's portfolio, and you'll find that in Discord. If you look at Eve's portfolio, you'll see that. If you look at Charlie's portfolio, you'll see that. I want to see that early on, like, key point. What'd you learn? Because if they're gone in a minute, you've already lost them, because they're going to get down here and they're going to get down here and say, yeah, this is all process. I don't know what she's learned. I don't know where the arc of growth is. I know this looks nice. Okay. So right now, like you've got like components that, it's very easy to see, like, the way this is organized. This is clearly a unit of information. That's clearly a unit of information. When you expand it, it goes up to here, and like all of that works. Okay, not a problem at all. But I need more. I need to understand more of what you got out of it quicker, so that we mitigate the downside should somebody leave that meeting. Okay? All right. Let's move over here to Katie. Katie's actually, she's got her Figma file, and I'm going to come over here. She's updated a few things here. One of the big updates that Katie's made from yesterday is the navigation across the top is now gone, because she's in the cart page. Now, you can continue shopping. You can check out. What's interesting here is how deep on the page this is becoming. I'm just going to, rather than put this in prototype mode, I just want to, like, I just want to zoom in to where we can kind of see just how deep this is. So this is basically our size. And what you'll notice first is there's a space here between like where the nav ends and where this secondary bit begins. Not sure necessarily why. So this says cart. This is my cart. I'm guessing when you get over here to delivery, you're going to have some sort of similar display that says delivery. Okay, that's fine. It's okay. There's a lot of space here as well. I would soak that up. And the big reason why is when I look at this, I'm starting like well down the page, and then like my checkout buttons and my continue shopping, this key navigation is not viewable on the page right now. Okay, and this is where a lot of companies will do a 2-column design. They will pull the subtotal and continue shopping and all that, and they will put it right over here. This is like the Amazon way of handling this would be to have like the ability to continue and the price and all that over here. WordPress always has their continue buttons up here, or maybe even up here. While also keeping it down here in case you have scrolled down. The other bit that I would bring up is right now you've got these tabs, for lack of a better term, and they look like they're buttons. Like I should be able to click remove peppers and it do something. And maybe that is an action item. Maybe I can click it and do something. But it doesn't really give me a sense that what's going to happen when I click it. Does it go away? Do I go in? Is that a quick key for edit? Because this is close to checkout. Like this is saying, yeah, I'm going to click this and something's going to happen. I don't necessarily know if that was your intention. When I zoom over, let's see. So that's not how it was designed there, but I think that was actually a spot where I may have worked on it. So I'm not seeing how you finished up the design here, but this does look familiar. Okay, so right now these are in white, and add to cart is your action button. So when we come over here, I understand why you're struggling to have them in white, because there's no background on this. At the same time, I would ask, okay, well, is it a situation where you should be utilizing this salmon color as a background for all of these boxes that you have? I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that if the tabs need to be white, make them white, or make them gray, or make them gray in both places. Like we need some consistency. You have a big box on the page. Does that mean because you use the salmon color somewhere else, does that mean that the big box should be salmon colored, the light salmon colored, sorry. Does that mean it should be the light salmon colored here, or the watermelon color? No, the watermelon color. Should it be that here? I don't know. So I'm struggling here. I get the edit button. The edit button makes sense, and it's got the edit button. My question here is, should it be the same color as checkout? Does it need to be a button? Should it be a link? Okay. Why have we landed on this being a button? All right, these are considerations that I would like you to think about as you're working through this. And then I look over here, and delivery in your cart and summary are now different sizes than my cart. So I get the sense that you are, you're struggling a bit here to determine like what to do with these. You're trying to find your footing. do I have a link for your cart to edit? And would that take me back to my cart? Should this delivery be over here? Um, what happens? Like it says select one. If I have enter new address, do I get a form? Yeah, it looks like I get a form. So you're working through this, and I think that's fine. There mainly my main considerations here are focused on what's happening with these pills, if you will, pills, tabs. They're not really tabs; they're pills. But what's happening with these? A lot of times, what I see is on situations like this, if you hover over, it gives you an X that says, "Oh, you can delete me." Okay. Or maybe it just has an X there to where you can like quickly clear it out. But it shouldn't be selectable. It shouldn't look like the checkout button. Like if I click it, something's going to happen. If something is going to happen, I just need to know what that is, because right now it isn't clear to me like where that goes, because you have an edit button. Okay. All right. Let's take a second and look over at Abby's work. And Abby, I'm going to come back to exercise 1 because this is a fair amount of written here. And we're going to focus on exercise 2. And exercise 2 here is your sketching exercises. And part of this exercise is figuring out what pattern is in use. So here, this is a simple cancel. Actually, I think we've got you open over here already. So this is just a simple straight down. It's just it's just looking at email, password, login. The main thing I'm wanting you to pay attention to is what are the fields necessary? What are the fields necessary on this pattern? Because at some point in the near future, I'm going to say, here's 20 fields. I'm trying to make a form for this. What do I need? Okay? You're going to come back to your sketches and go, oh, hey, what did they do? Unless you've done some other study. Okay? So Frank and Oak, you got a nav, you got a title, you got buttons, you got nav, there's a mega menu. So this is like zooming across the Z pattern. Again, the Z pattern. Filters and products, that's very much the F pattern. All right? And this is where, because you're identifying these patterns early on, when you come to a page and you say, there's a lot of content here. Well, you wouldn't design something with a lot of content with a Z pattern. That just doesn't make logical sense. You would design it a different way, probably with an F pattern. So again, it's understanding the patterns that are present and the patterns that users are expecting to see. Okay, it's not saying that design isn't creative, but it is recognizing that there are a lot of patterns that we need to work through. Okay, so this is Amazon. This is so buttons. There's products. There's nav. There is recorded products, order summary, shipment info. So what's interesting, I was just talking about this with Katie. It's like, where do those buttons for checkout live? Where's that at? Is it at the bottom? Is it up top? Have you ever stopped to look at it? Like you're just starting the UI exercises, all right? These are rough sketches, and that's fine. That's fine. These are so much better than screenshots, though, because for you sitting down and going through the act of literally sketching out what that page looks like, and paying attention to like, oh, here's where the action is. Here's what pattern is being used. That's going to be far more useful to you. Open table. Lots of Z patterns here. F pattern. Yeah, so overall, what you should see going through this is that most of these sites there's a couple of different patterns that are being used. All right. When color is being used, it often is being used with the purpose of action. Okay. And when you have a lot of content, that is typically where the pattern shifts. And that's really what I was hoping that you would get from this sketching exercise. All right, so good job there. And that's going to wrap it up for today's edition of the Feedback Loop. Again, it was an interesting morning with Config Europe going on, and great sessions there. If you are joining us from there, I encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is probably likely where you're watching this. If you're wanting to ask questions, if you're wanting to participate in the discussion, I invite you to hop over to newpragmatic.com and sign up for access to the community. Know that next Wednesday we're going to have an open house. Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central. That's going to be really late if you're in Europe. It's going to be fairly early if you're in California, but welcome to the world of online and remote. Feel free to come on by. We will be sending invites out to everybody who's signed up in the New Pragmatic community. So you want to get into the New Pragmatic community. And again, that's over on newpragmatic.com. But without further ado, I'm Chris Courtney. This has been Feedback Loop.